let's push on to some movies that we've watched this week. Have you watched much?
Well, I don't know where you're going with this. So
Well, we went to the cinemas
I was
together.
going to
but
say, is that where you...
Yeah, but before we get to that, I was just thinking, like, have you watched much?
Did I watch
watched.
anything else?
I did Return of the Living Dead 1 and 2 back to back on the same night. It was fantastic.
Look, I haven't seen Return of the Living Dead Part 2 in a very long time, like since I was a kid.
It holds up much better than I remember it holding up. I remember
Right.
Tom Matthews has been on the record saying how much he hates it, and because him and the other bloke are in it together, almost playing the same characters but different, even though they, spoiler alert, die in the first one.
Yeah, doesn't he? He's like the one who can smell your brains and
Yeah,
stuff.
they come back in Part 2 as new characters, but they're the same kind of type.
Right. Is it him and the guy who
The
he
old
works
bloke.
for? Yeah.
But anyway, look, I had a lot of fun with it, and I learnt, and apparently everyone else knew this and I didn't, that the version most of us know from DVD has a different soundtrack to the original theatrical. And if
Oh,
you
I
go
didn't know that.
if you go to the French audio track on that DVD, it's got the original soundtrack.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Look, I've only... That's for Part 2 or Part 1?
Part two.
Because I know there was a thing about some of the Cramp songs in Part 1 as well.
Yeah. No, this is, I think it's score as well as soundtrack.
Right.
And I found a YouTube video to go in a deep dive into it, why this happened, and it's not the reason a lot of people think it is, and it's an oversight more than a legality.
Right.
And then I posted it on Watching Them on my Facebook, and one of our listeners, Justine Ryan from Cinemaniacs, she goes, "Oh, which version did you watch?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm not new to this."
I don't know.
Apparently, everybody. No, I definitely watched the. Not because I think it was whoever in the States put it out on Blu-ray, restored the original theatrical soundtrack.
Would it have been
score.
Shout Factory? maybe?
Might have been. I think they've restored it to its original glory,
Because the last one I watched was Part 3,
which is a good one.
but it's a very different beast from 1 and 2.
Yeah, very loosely connected, and it is a very different kind of film. It's very much a Brian Usner film.
But I think it actually makes a pretty good companion piece to something like the Abel Ferrara Body Snatchers movie.
Yeah, sure.
It's that kind of military kid who discovers, shit going on and kind of stuff
I can
happens.
see that.
But I really have a lot of time for the first one. But I keep meaning to watch the second one. But it doesn't actually pick up from the... It's not like they've dropped the bomb and destroyed whatever the city is, which is what they kind of allude to at the end of Part 1.
What I like most about Part 2 is that it's much like The Gate and Gremlins, it's kids that are the central characters. They're the heroes of it, right? And little kids like 9, 10. And they come across a barrel of that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's supposedly the same stuff from the first movie. So it is the same universe, different area.
Send more caps.
Anyway, I watched those.
You also watched some other films, which I don't know if one of them you're going to recommend, but you did end up watching... What was it? You had a great triple feature on the weekend. Dead Bang, Presumed Innocent.
Yes.
And what was the third one?
Dead Bang, Presumed Innocent, and...
Or is it Presumed... No, Innocent Man.
And Shoot to Kill.
Shoot to Kill. Was it Innocent Man?
Innocent Man.
Yeah,
Innocent
the Tom
Man.
Selleck one.
Yeah.
Which is great. The one where he's in the prison, shanking people in the toilet.
With F. Murray Abraham, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie.
That's great. It's not what I... Because I used to always get it mixed up with... with what's the one with Pauline Porzakova where she's the assassin?
I don't remember. But I love that you remembered I watched that trilogy and I completely forgot.
Forgot it. Because I always get those two mixed up, which that one's much more of a lighter comedy where he's a writer who's got writer's block and he hooks up with Pauline Porzakova. He falls in love with her. But then it turns out that she's like an international hitman, kind of international assassin. And then there's this one, which is the hardcore prison movie, which is like possibly one of the most serious movies that Tom Selleck has ever done. Because after he became a star and got Magnum, it was like comedies from kind of there on out.
It's all quirky. It is a great movie. I've always loved it. But Dead Bang, I've got a real soft spot. And the more I watch it, the more it rises to my all-time favourites.
Yeah, so I've only watched it once, and I didn't like it as much as you do.
It. The more I watch it, the more I like it. And the more you watch it, the more you see how Christmas it is. Like, it is a real Christmas movie. And it goes dark. Like, it goes to places that most action movies don't.
Yeah.
Because it's all about white supremacy. And William Forsythe comes into it, and he's just hilarious as the stuck-up fucking FBI agent.
Yeah.
I would appreciate it if you didn't use so many profanities in front of me. I find it offensive.
Which is very unlike him in everything else from like... what's the Steven Seagal movie he's in? Nico Above the Law or one
Oh
of those.
yeah, I mean,
He's in one of those
I'm pretty
ones.
sure he's played white supremacists
I
before.
tell you, he was Flathead in the Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
In Dick Tracy, and he's
Devil's Rejects, you know.
Is he Al Capone? Or is he Frank Nitti in the Elliot Ness TV series with Robert Stack?
There you go.
But what's his name? Shoot to Kill. Not Shoot to Kill. What's it
Shoot
called?
to Kill's great. Yeah.
What's the other title of that one though?
Oh, Deadly Pursuit.
Deadly Pursuit, which is I think
Same movie. In case you're wondering what the fuck we're talking about, it's in Australia it was called Deadly Pursuit. Everywhere else it was Shoot to Kill.
Shoot to Kill with Sidney Poitier, Tom Berenger, Kirstie Alley, and Clancy Brown.
Richard Masur. It's just a really fucking great cast, and it's a wilderness survivalist film. Essentially, a serial killer joins a hiking group. To escape the feds, and so the feds realize where he is, and Sidney Poitier plays the fed that joins up with a tracker, which is Tom Berenger, who's like a city slicker, like Sidney Poitier is a city slicker.
Yeah,
and they go into the wilderness Rambo style.
Because he's basically replaced one of the hikers and gone off with Kirstie Alley, who's kind of Tom Berenger's love interest.
Yeah, it's
kind of ex-love interest, love interest.
To Cliffhanger, really.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that MacGyver ripped off the plot in an episode.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I've always loved Deadly Pursuit. Like, it is a real thrilling kind of movie. And I remember when I moved to Canada, the first thing I did was try and find those locations.
Because for a long time, it was unavailable here. Like, it came out on VHS and then it just disappeared.
Exactly. So I snapped up that DVD from America when I could. But anyway, we also got to the cinemas.
We did
last week, and we saw A Quiet Place Day 1.
We did,
and I liked it. I did. I liked it a lot. I'm really enjoying this franchise, and it is definitely becoming a franchise. It's the world building, I think, is really good. And I said to you, this to me is what Cloverfield should have been, rather than going scattered across different kind of settings and locations.
Yeah. I think
this one sticks to the theme.
Yeah. I mean, look, unless they start just going to other countries, the franchise is kind of done, because once you figure out the.
Oh, you mean like the Quiet Place? I think there's a lot more, and I think that's what they'll do is they will go to different parts of America before they go international.
Yeah, but they're all going to be prequels to Part 2, because Part 2, like, unless something happens where they become impervious to the sound, then it's like War of the World. It's like once the aliens get sick of the cold and all start dying, you can't really do War of the Worlds Part 2.
Yeah.
Because they, until they, I suppose they could do War of the Worlds Part 2, the immunity, or the vaccine, where they've all been vaccinated and they come back and now they're all doped up on penicillin.
I guess you could go forward in story and like maybe even the aliens have died out, but it's like, what does humanity do now? Like, how do we come back?
Come back from it. Yeah. I mean, look, that would be. I love that stuff.
Yep.
I don't know if they would. I mean, I'd love Roland Emmerich to kind of do that movie of the recovery. I thought the most interesting thing about the last Avengers movie was the part that they skipped through, the 5 years after, which is basically what The Leftovers is about.
Yeah.
That period of time where half the people have disappeared, 50% and you just have to all right, now what do we do? Like, that's what I loved about The Stand. Like, I could have foregone all of the stuff in Vegas with The Stand, and it just been about them meeting each other and trying to rescue the town and survive.
Mm-hmm.
Not on, because at some point canned food and all that sort of stuff is going to go out.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to, find animals and learn animal husbandry and learn, process, mass production processing and how to keep electricity going and all that sort of stuff, which they just kind of gloss over.
Yeah.
But that, to me, is the interesting stuff.
Yeah. This is funny. The Quiet Place one, I think it's based on the premise of the second film. The very start of the second film shows day one in a small town when the aliens first strike. And I think that actually did it more effectively because that was a really terrifying intro.
Yeah.
But I like the cityscape of this one, putting it in New York City. Obviously, you kind of, have it's a bit of a metaphor to, post 9/11 and the city's still under, trauma.
Well, because that's the first kind of incursion it's basically the dust is everywhere, so you can't see.
Yeah.
You don't get, even though we as an audience know what they are because
Yeah.
we've seen the previous two films.
Yeah.
But they can't see anything. It's just these things tearing them out of the darkness.
Yes, but that also opens it up to some problematic issues, which we talked about, and you kind of do have to really suspend your disbelief in this one a little bit because
I think in the whole franchise.
Yeah, but at least in so what I'm getting at here is you see the aliens very much in this one. And obviously they are blind and they've got ultrasonic hearing, right? And a penny drops, they're onto it. And yet they're blind and they have the ability to scale buildings with precision, leap onto particular points, on a car or whatever, like with precision.
Yeah.
And as you pointed out, and yet they're not susceptible to each other's noises.
Yeah.
Because everywhere they go, they're making noises when they hit the rubble. And
they run
smash windows.
Their footsteps are much louder than the people's when they're running around and doing stuff.
So therefore, at least with part 1 and 2, we didn't see them. They're in the shadows. They're in the dark. So it didn't matter as much, and you didn't have to suspend your disbelief too hard. This one, you definitely do.
Yeah.
Unless they're going to make another installment and explain how that happens.
Yeah. But look, it's one of those ones where you're like, I know that this is an issue, but I don't care.
No,
it's
exactly.
It's fun enough.
And if that's the only negative you can go to, that's still a pretty good movie because it doesn't matter whatsoever because you're focused on these human characters. Mind you, the lead character in this one shit me all the way through this movie. It really did. I didn't like. I don't want to give too much away, but I didn't like her story.
It just seems like of all the things that you can do, I guess it's like riding wank. It was just unnecessary. It could have been why not just make it about Digimon Hansu, whatever. Armistad man. Why not just make it about him?
Yeah, because they introduce him in this, and he's obviously from part 2, so we've got a little bit of an origin story for him. But I mean, it doesn't really connect the dots there for part 2. But anyway, look, a good third installment, I think, to this series. I'm quite happy with where this is going. And once upon a time, by the time you got to 3, it was that whole rule of diminished returns, right? With the sequel, they put less money into it. It made less money. This one, I think, will make a lot of money, and they've clearly put a lot into it.
Yeah. I'm just looking up here. How do I...
What?
It is... Yeah, Jimon Hounsu. Yeah. I always say Digimon because maybe the D is silent.
I had to when I was writing up my review for this, I did accidentally spell it Digimon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Digimon.
I mean, I corrected it before it got published, but of course, Digimon just made sense to me. Anyway, so we saw that. I also caught the new Indian film Kill, which is essentially John Wick on a train, Indian style, almost Bollywood. It's got a very melodramatic bookend.
It sounds like Jarman.
Jarman, okay.
That's what it says. That's what the British pronunciation says. Sounds like Jai Mun.
Okay, excellent. So we're making sure that you're all informed and you don't have the wrong information. Because if there's one thing that we can do on this show, it's mispronounce names. Very well. I saw the movie Kill, which is like a Bollywood version of John Wick on a train. Bullet Train meets John Wick. Full on action.
You were very excited to see this.
I was. It's full on action, but it's a silly movie. The melodrama just really ruined it for me, and it's that Bollywood melodrama too.
Yeah.
So really really heightened. Lots of head wobbling, which that's what happens in a Bollywood movie, and when you put that into an action movie, it's kind of weird. What else do I have to say?
Unless they're dodging bullets. Matrix style.
And they the intro scene, like the first scene of the movie, well, it's all one scene really, the movie, but the opening credit shot is at the 50-minute mark.
Yeah.
You get 50 minutes of movie and then it's like kill. And then you got a whole lot more movie.
I think that's there's a lot of directors out there who do like a late credit sequence, but that's taken the piss.
That's really taken the piss.
The reason I couldn't be bothered, apart from the fact that it's at Melbourne Central, which I don't like to go to, and the movie I don't think gets a proper release for a little while. I don't think it's this week. I think
it's a week after.
A week or something, yeah. So there's still time to catch it at Chatty. But I find these movies, I really struggle with the John Wick movies.
Oh, same here.
Post the first one.
Yep.
Because it's just...
monotonous.
It's just a monotonous long... for me, the most interesting things in action movies are the bits in between that like I do want the cathartic payoff of the action.
Yeah.
But in order for that to be a cathartic payoff of action, you need a reason to hate them and to want to see that stuff happen.
Yeah.
And if you take that away, where it's just because otherwise it feels like the Austin Powers joke about no one ever thinks about the henchmen. Like there's just this guy goes through 100 dudes who are just I just turn up to work today. Like yes, my boss is an evil.
Actually, that reminds me of the one thing that really bothered me in this movie, and it just made me shake my head the whole time. Is you've got these bad guys that hop on this train, and they are butchering people, right? Like they are killing people left, right, and center in the most horrific ways. And yet, the second one of them is killed, it's like, why? And they look at the other guy, and go, why did you kill me? It's like because you fucking killed everybody. Like I just love how sorry they feel for themselves.
Oh, look, that's my favorite thing about bad guys in every movie, where they're so upset. Like the whole Patriot Games is all fueled on how could you kill my little brother when he, tried to kill the Prince of the. In the book, it's the Prince of Wales, but in the movie, it's like the Earl with a machine gun in the middle of London while taking out a bunch of taxi drivers and innocent people.
This
How dare you?
All the way through the movie, felt like by the end they are taking the piss. Like, this is clearly, it's a weird movie. I think it'll do well on streaming on platforms.
Yeah.
But anyway, there we go.